Alright guys, Epic fucking Slayers here and welcome to today's video. In this one we're going to talk about the top 3 best DPS builds in PvP right now. This is my top 3 list and I'm pretty sure a lot of you will disagree with me here, or you will say that I've missed out a particular build. Now there is certainly more than just 3 top tier builds in PvP right now, but this is the top 3 that I personally go back to if I want to go for a lot of kills. So this video was made really for all the people who've asked me in the comments on my videos how I get so many kills and what builds I'm running. Now if this does help you out, whether you're a new player or a veteran player, then please don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help me out. And if you're new and have never seen any of my content and enjoy this video, then perhaps subscribe and turn on notifications. That would really help me out. And with that said, let's get into the top 3 DPS PvP builds right now. So guys, in my opinion, this has to be the best build in the game. You've probably seen this before. This is the high-end build, the Hexo build, whatever you want to call it really. And the reason why this gear set works so well, this build works so well, is simply down to these gloves. These Skulls MC gloves, which have to be, in my opinion, probably the best gear piece in the game. I absolutely love them. I've had quite a few pairs, luckily. So as you can see with Skulls MC gloves, damage increased by 16% when no set bonuses are active. So that basically means if no gear set bonuses are active, you get 16% extra damage. The great thing about this build is that, you know, with every single high-end build, you get a talent, and those talents really make the build. As you can see with this one, I always run Reckless because that's just me, Epic fucking Slayers. I'm a reckless bastard. Here, as you can see with the Spec Ops mask, I always run crit chance. I try and get as much crit chance for that DPS as possible. The operator's pads here that I've got, unfortunately, aren't the ones you really want to be using. You want to be using short bow knee pads. And that basically means that when you throw a grenade, I think there's a 0.2 fuse timer on it, so as soon as it hits the floor, it pretty much blows up, which is obviously good. Specialized backpack, pretty standard. And lastly, Colonel Bliss's holster. And as you can see, that hitting a target consecutively with a sidearm increases your damage of all weapons by 2% for 20 seconds. If you can get in the habit of actually shooting someone whilst they're at you with a pistol and changing weapons quickly, then you can do a lot of damage. Now, the gun I always run with this build is the MP7. Now, for outright DPS, damage per second, the MP7 is the best burst DPS submachine gun in the game. Best burst DPS weapon in the game, actually. So, if you wanted to drop your enemies very quick, then this is the one you're going to want to go for. Deadly Responsive Unforgiven is the god roll that you can get on an SMG, or actually saying that probably any sort of PvP weapon. This is the god roll talents that you really want to be going for if you're going for just pure sort of firearms builds like this one. The build itself, or the weapon attachment, itself, you always want to be going for crit damage and crit chance. As you can see, I'm not going to go for all of this because it's just crit damage, crit chance, and that's really what it is. But the build itself, yeah, it's the high-end build. You get all high-end pieces, and you get the Skull MC gloves. This is probably the best DPS build in the game. There are a few other ones that are very close to this, but yeah, if you guys want to know what the best, this is the best. Moving on to number 2 out of my top 3, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are already going to the comments section saying this should not be in my top 3. And I can see why. I mean, recently I've started actually using this build. I never actually considered it to be top tier, although I realised that this build had great versatility. But I've started using it recently and really I am surprised. I actually think that I'm in love with this build, to be honest, as much as I am with the high-end build that I've loved for so long. And the reason being is that the full-piece Alpha Bridge talent here reads: if your primary and secondary weapon is of the same category, they share the free talent. All talent requirements are ignored for all weapon talents. So that basically means anything that would normally cost a lot of electronics, for example, like on this build Fierce, or something like Adept, for example, are completely free when you're using the full piece, which is great. As you can see here with this particular lightweight M4, I'm using Responsive as my 4th talent. So that's an extra 10% damage when I'm within 10 meters. Now, if you couple that with the 3-piece talent of 5% weapon damage, that's 15% damage, which almost matches the Skull MC gloves that you get on a high-end build, although I realise you get a bit more from that build because of the high-end talents that you normally get. With that said, on this build you can go for Savage, which you can't get on the high-end build, and that's 7% extra critical hit damage, which is significant. You know, if you couple that with crit chance on the actual gloves, that's 12% damage just from that item alone. That is massive. The build itself is pretty self-explanatory, just 4-piece Alpha Bridge, 2-piece high-end. You can really just go for what you need on the major attributes. Here it's not min-maxed, you don't really want to be going for all resistance, to be honest. Probably want to go for something like Skill Haste maybe, or actually Exotic Damage Resilience if you're running Last Stand because of Seekers. Crit chance on the mask is always what I run for if you're going for a complete firearms build. You don't want to be running enemy armor damage on this. You either want to go for health, or if you are just trying to get as much DPS firepower as possible, perhaps go for crit damage. Specialised backpack, which I use on a lot of my builds, and was it used in my high-end build? Again, I'll show you the Savage Gloves, Assault Rifle damage, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. And then lastly, just an Alpha Bridge holster. And really for the major attribute, you can go with what you need here. Normally, I'd roll critical hit chance, to be fair, because the 8,000 health really doesn't compete with the 4% that you'd get from crit chance. The crit chance is probably a little bit better. So that's the 4-piece Alpha Bridge. It's certainly worth it, guys. This set itself is amazing. It's so versatile. You can run a high sort of skill power build, but still get all the free talents, so you can still do a little bit of damage there. But I just personally like to run all firearms and absolutely fucking melt people with this build. Right, guys, so last but not fucking least, we got the 3-piece Banshee, 3-piece Predators build that I absolutely love. Now, this build, you will get more DPS than like a high-end build, straight DPS. And what I mean by that is, with a 3-piece Banshee, you get 10% damage to targets out of cover. And then with a 3-piece Pred, as long as you're using Assault Rifle and SMG, you get an extra 8%. So that's 18% damage. That's more than what you get from Skull MC Gloves. Now, with that said, obviously with the high-end build, you get stuff like Tenacious, you get stuff like Reckless, which, you know, ultimately do mean that that build does more DPS, but this is still a very, very strong build. Unfortunately, with this build, the skill power is a little bit low, but really all we're focusing on it as much burst DPS damage as we can do. We want to drop the enemies as quickly as possible. So with this one, I'm running, obviously, my trusty MP7 with my God Roll on it, because this is the best sort of burst PvP weapon in the game. For the actual build itself, it's really up to you what you go for. So major attributes on the armor, I've gone for health, skill haste, ammo capacity. I wouldn't want skill haste here, I'd want exotic damage resilience, just for a little bit more survivability within Last Stand, because of course, as you guys know, AIDS, Seekers, love me. With the mask, we've gone for crit chance, firearms, and with the knee pads, we've gone firearms, health, and then the minor attributes. With the minor attributes, you always want to go for, or the God Roll is shock resistance, bleed resistance, burn resistance. That's really what you want, to be honest. On the backpack, again, you're going to want burn resistance, really. That's the main thing in the minor attribute. But you're going to want health and firearms, because with this particular build, the one I've got, the firearms are 8752, very, very squishy, but you do a lot of damage. So, you know, it's kind of to and fro. The major attributes, as you can see, it's standard stuff here. SMG, crit damage, crit chance, firearms. And then lastly, for the Banshee Shadow Holster, I've gone into health. And that's just really to help with a little bit of survivability. If you want to go for straight DPS, then you could roll off the health on here, possibly put on crit chance. You could roll off health here, put on crit damage, you know, fucking YOLO, whatever you guys want to do here. But this has to be one of the best burst DPS builds in the game. I love it. It's one of my go-to builds. So, yeah, you guys will have to let me know what you think of this particular build as well. So there you go, guys. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with me. So please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm pretty open to, you know, what you guys have got to say. And as I said at the start of the video, there is a lot more good builds in this game, or top tier builds. Strikers being one of them, if you can keep the stacks up. And that's the reason why I didn't include it, because it's very difficult to keep the stacks up, especially for a new player. Even I struggle, and I've been playing this game for some time now. Other great builds, you know, 4-piece Predator is a very good build. A high-end electronics build is a very good build as well. So there's loads of them, I get that. But for me, these are the 3 that I always go back to if I want to get as many kills as possible. If I'm being completely honest, the Banshee Pred build, for me, isn't as good as the high-end build and the Alpha Bridge build, and the build I always go back to is the high-end build if I want to get the most kills possible. So there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy this one. Drop a like if you did, and take care. Peace.